What would you do if the people meant to protect you became the very ones who destroyed your entire life's work overnight, leaving you stranded in the ruins of your own dreams? Imagine standing helplessly as the fruits of your blood, sweat, and tears are brutally crushed into the dirt, all because of one person's malicious greed. How far would you go to seek justice when the enemy believes they are completely untouchable? Laughing at your pain from the safety of their shadow, the answers hidden within the ashes of this broken sanctuary will change everything, forcing a ruthless reckoning that no one ever saw coming. A devastating betrayal has torn through the peaceful village, leaving behind a trail of absolute destruction and broken hearts. The shattered remnants of a beautiful garden lie scattered across the muddy ground, a painful monument to unbridled malice and jealousy. But as the smoke clears and the tears fall, a quiet anger begins to burn beneath the surface, setting off a ticking clock toward an unforgettable confrontation. The ultimate price of cruelty is about to be demanded, and the law will ensure that no one escapes the consequences of their actions. The morning sun rises over the village road, but its warmth fails to pierce the heavy, suffocating gloom hanging over the devastated land. Tu Tien stands completely still beside the old wooden gate, her hands trembling as she looks at the catastrophic ruins of her beloved garden. The vibrant green rows of rare plants and flowers, cultivated over months of tireless labor, have been completely hacked to pieces, trampled into the wet dirt by the heavy boots of ruthless thugs. The soil is soaked with crushed leaves and broken stems, a sight that feels like a physical dagger plunged deep into her chest. Tears stream uncontrollably down her pale cheeks, splashing onto a ruined orchid she gently cradles in her shivering hands. She falls to her knees right there in the mud, her breath catching in her throat as a wave of absolute helplessness washes over her. Every single corner of her sanctuary, her only source of livelihood and peace, has been systematically annihilated. Heavy, rapid footsteps suddenly echo from the main path, breaking the agonizing silence of the yard. CEO Jack rushes through the broken entrance, his tailored suit completely out of place against the mud, his face pale with sudden panic. He stops dead in his tracks, his eyes widening in complete shock as he takes in the sheer scale of the mindless violence inflicted upon the property. His gaze immediately locks onto Tu Tien's collapsed, weeping figure, and an overwhelming surge of raw anger and deep pain flashes across his sharp features. Jack steps quickly over the shattered wooden beams, dropping to his knees directly in the mud beside her without a single thought for his clothes. He wraps his strong arms around her trembling shoulders, pulling her tightly against his chest as she breaks down into desperate, agonizing sobs. He does not offer empty words or superficial comfort. Instead, he holds her with a fierce, protective grip, his jaw tightly clenched as his eyes scan the deliberate destruction. "I'm so sorry, Jack. Everything is gone." Tu Tien whispers through her tears, her voice cracking with pure exhaustion and sorrow. Months of work, destroyed in just one single night. Why do they hate me this much? What did I ever do to deserve this cruelty? Jack squeezes her hand tightly, his voice low, steady, and vibrating with an icy, dangerous resolve. "Look at me, Tu Tien. Look at my eyes. This is not the end. I promise you. With everything I have, I am not going to let whoever did this get away with it. They will pay for every single tear you have shed today. Every single one." Gently helping her to her feet, Jack guides her to a small, untouched wooden bench near the kitchen steps. He wipes a stray tear from her cheek, his mind already shifting into a state of calculating, strategic focus. He refuses to let grief paralyze them when action is required. He stands up and walks back into the center of the ruined garden, his sharp eyes scanning the perimeter with intense scrutiny. He knows that raw malice always leaves a trail, no matter how clever the perpetrator thinks they are. Jack pulls his phone from his pocket and logs directly into an encrypted application. Weeks ago, Fearing potential sabotage from jealous rivals in the area, he had secretly installed high-definition, night vision security cameras, hidden deep within the hollows of the ancient trees and beneath the eaves of the old gate. His fingers fly across the screen, pulling up the recorded footage from the exact hour of the attack. Tu Tien watches him from the bench, her breath hitched, holding her hands tightly over her heart as the tension in the air grows thick and heavy. Jack's eyes narrow to slits as the video playback begins to stream smoothly across his screen. The high-resolution footage clearly captures a group of 5 heavily built thugs entering the garden under the cover of total darkness, carrying metal bars and machetes. They laugh brutally as they begin hacking away at the rare crops, tearing down structures with reckless abandon. Then, the camera catches the leader of the gang pausing near the main hidden lens to answer a ringing phone. The audio is incredibly crisp. The thug speaks loudly over the sound of destruction, saying, "Yes, Ba Dep, we are flattening the entire place right now, just like you ordered. Don't worry, by tomorrow morning, Tu Tien won't have a single leaf left to sell. Just make sure the rest of our cash payment is ready tomorrow morning." Jack's face hardens into stone, a cold, dangerous smile playing at the corners of his lips. He has them. The evidence is absolute, undeniable, and devastating. Just as Jack turns to show the footage to Tu Tien, a sudden rustling sound echoes from behind the thick bushes near the outer fence. Jack immediately steps in front of Tu Tien, his body tense and ready for a physical confrontation, his eyes locked on the moving shadow. A young man, bruised and disheveled, slowly steps out into the open yard, his hands raised high in the air to signal absolute surrender. It is one of the thugs from the video footage, his face filled with visible terror and deep remorse. He trembles violently under Jack's piercing, icy glare, sinking to his knees on the gravel path before Jack can even take a step toward him. "Please, CEO Jack, please don't hit me. I didn't want to come back here to cause trouble. I swear." The young man begs, his voice shaking with genuine fear. "I couldn't sleep last night after what we did." Seeing Miss Tu Tien cry like this, it broke something inside me. I used to be a decent person before I fell into the wrong crowd. I came here to make things right, to beg for your forgiveness. Tu Tien steps out from behind Jack, her eyes wide with shock as she recognizes the young man's face from her nightmares. You were one of the people who smashed my orchids. Why are you here?" The repentant thug reaches into his pocket with trembling fingers and pulls out a sleek black smartphone, holding it out toward Jack like a lifeline. "I have the proof. I recorded everything. This phone contains the direct audio recordings of all the phone calls Ba Dep made to our boss, outlining the exact plan to destroy this garden. It also has the digital bank transfer history showing the large cash deposit she sent to our group yesterday afternoon to finalize the hit. She wanted to ruin you completely, Miss Tu Tien. Please take this. Use it to protect yourselves. I will testify against her. I will do whatever it takes to right this wrong." Jack steps forward, his movements deliberate and imposing. He takes the phone from the young man's hand, quickly verifying the data. The audio files are perfectly clear, and the bank statement explicitly displays Ba Dep's full legal name and account details. A mini cliffhanger hangs in the air as Jack looks down at the young man, his voice cutting through the wind like a razor blade. "You made the right choice coming here today. Your cooperation is the only thing keeping you out of a maximum security prison cell right now. Stay right here. Your role in this nightmare is far from over." Meanwhile, across the village, the atmosphere inside a lavishly decorated private room at a local high-end establishment is loud and celebratory. Ba Dep sits comfortably in a plush wooden chair, poured over with expensive jewelry, a massive, arrogant smirk plastered across her face. She pours herself a glass of premium wine, laughing loudly with a few of her close associates as she celebrates what she believes is her ultimate, flawless victory over her rivals. Let this be a harsh lesson to anyone who dares to cross me in this town, Ba Dep boasts, slamming her glass down onto the table with an entitled clatter. That pathetic little brat Tu Tien actually thought she could compete with me? She thought that fancy CEO Jack could protect her from my wrath? Cho chua kai thoi chong doi tao. Let them cry over their ruined dirt and shattered plants today. They are absolutely nothing compared to me. Her associates laugh along with her, feeding her massive ego, completely unaware of the storm gathering right outside their doors. Ba Dep raises her glass for another toast, her face twisted in an expression of pure, unadulterated malice and satisfaction. She truly believes she is completely above the law, untouchable in her wealth and local influence. The heavy wooden doors of the private room are suddenly slammed open with a deafening bang, splintering against the wall. The celebratory laughter instantly dies out, replaced by a tense, suffocating silence. CEO Jack walks into the room first, his towering presence filling the space with an aura of immense power and absolute authority. His eyes are dead, cold, and entirely devoid of mercy. Walking right beside him is Tu Tien, her face pale but her posture incredibly straight, her eyes reflecting a quiet, unbreakable dignity that catches Ba Dep completely off guard. Ba Dep jumps up from her chair, her initial shock quickly melting away into a mask of haughty defiance and fierce arrogance. She crosses her arms over her chest, glaring at them with deep contempt. What is the meaning of this? How dare you barge into my private room like a bunch of common criminals? Tui mai taide lam yi? What did your pathetic little garden get ruined last night? Vun bi fa roi ha? Dang dori lam. That's exactly what happens to weak, pathetic people who don't know their place. Tu Tien takes a step forward, her voice shaking with intense emotional pressure, yet remaining incredibly firm and clear. Du ba ko gate toi the now di nua, ba kung kong ko quin dup fa tai sen va thue ngui hai toi nu vai. You crossed a line that can never be uncrossed, Ba Dep. You destroyed innocent lives and a peaceful livelihood out of pure, mindless jealousy. Ba Dep bursts into a loud, mocking laugh, throwing her head back in absolute amusement. She looks around at her associates, pretending to be completely baffled by the heavy accusations. Who can prove that I had anything to do with your broken plants? I Chung Min La Tao Lam, do you have any eyes on the back of your heads? Tu Ti Mai Vu Kung Tao Bao Kung, and But Tu Ti Mai Bei Ja. Go ahead, keep lying about me, and I'll have you thrown in jail for defamation before the sun sets today. Jack steps forward, a slow, terrifyingly cold laugh escaping his lips as he stops just inches from the table. The tension reaches a boiling point. He raises his smartphone high in the air, his eyes locking onto Ba Dep's arrogant face like a predator cornering its prey. Ba Dep, you don't need to waste your time calling the police to arrest us, Jack says, his voice drop dead quiet, sending a visible shiver straight down her spine. Because we have already called them for you, and unlike your wild lies, we brought absolute, indisputable facts. With a swift swipe of his finger, Jack plays the hidden camera footage directly on the screen, followed immediately by the crystal-clear audio recording of her voice, commanding the thugs to flatten the garden. The digital bank transfer receipt showing her full name flashes across the screen in bold, undeniable letters. Ba Dep's face instantly drains of all color. The arrogant smirk completely vanishes from her lips, replaced by a cold, paralyzing dread. Her hands begin to shake so violently that she drops her wine glass, sending it shattering across the tiled floor, the red liquid spreading out like blood. She looks around the room frantically, but her associates are already stepping away from her, completely terrified of being dragged down into her legal ruin. Before Ba Dep can even utter a single word of denial, the heavy footsteps of multiple people echo loudly down the corridor outside. The doors are pushed wide open once more, and 3 high-ranking police officers in full official uniform step decisively into the room, their expressions stern and completely unyielding. The sight of the legal authority figures strikes the final blow to Ba Dep's crumbling confidence. The lead officer steps forward, his voice booming with absolute authority as he flashes his official law enforcement identification badge directly in front of her pale face. Everyone remain calm and stay exactly where you are. Is your legal name Ba Dep? Ba Dep stammers, her voice cracking as all her former hung-hach behavior completely evaporates into thin air. Yes, that is me, officer. But this is all just a massive misunderstanding. These people are trying to frame me. The officer cuts her off instantly, pulling out an official legal warrant from his folder. Ba Dep, you are officially under arrest and required to come with us to the police station immediately to cooperate with an active criminal investigation. You are being charged with the willful and malicious destruction of another person's private property, as well as organizing an illegal group to disrupt public order and safety. Anything you say from this moment forward can and will be used against you in a court of law. The sheer reality of her situation hits Ba Dep like a physical freight train. The walls are closing in on her, and there is absolutely no escape. The ultimate price of her cruel actions has arrived, and her entire world is shattering into pieces right before her eyes. In a state of complete, unhinged panic, Ba Dep forgets all her pride and arrogance. She lunges forward across the table, grabbing onto Tu Tien's sleeves with a desperate, clawing grip, her eyes wide with frantic terror as tears of fear begin to stream down her wrinkled face. Tu Tien RV87, please, I am so sorry. Di chi dua chut thoi chu kung koi. It was just a silly joke, I swear. I didn't mean for things to go this far, she wails, her voice echoing with pathetic desperation. Please, talk to Jack for me. Tell him to drop the charges and forgive me just this once. We are from the same village. You can't do this to me. Tu Tien stands completely frozen for a long beat, looking down at the woman who had tried to utterly ruin her life just hours before. The room is dead silent, waiting for her reaction. Tu Tien closes her eyes, drawing a deep, painful breath. She feels no joy in seeing another human being reduced to such a pathetic state, but she remembers the crushed orchids, the destroyed dreams, and the absolute malice in Ba Dep's eyes just moments ago. With absolute grace and unbreakable resolve, Tu Tien calmly but firmly pulls her sleeve out of Ba Dep's desperate grasp. She turns her face away completely, refusing to let sentimentality override justice. Jack steps into the space between them, his large hand immediately coming down to firmly but effortlessly push Ba Dep's hands away from Tu Tien, shielding her completely from the hysterical woman. His eyes are like blocks of ice as he stares down at the trembling criminal. Faplut kong fai la tradua. Ba Dep, Jack says, his voice carrying the weight of an absolute judge. The law is not a game you can play when you are angry, and a joke does not destroy a person's entire life's work. You chose to act with absolute cruelty, and now you must pay the price for what you have caused. There is no forgiveness for someone who shows no mercy to others. The police officers step forward immediately, grabbing Ba Dep by her arms and securing her wrists behind her back. She begins to scream and kick hysterically, her expensive jewelry clinking loudly as she is forcefully escorted out of the private room